Hello, everybody. Got another RWBY discussion thing to talk about. This one is one that has kind of been annoying me lately. It's annoying me because of how the fandom has talked about it. Or half of the fandom, rather. Because this seems to be a divisive issue, and I don't particularly understand why. Because the show outright explained it pretty damn well, to where I don't think it's something that we need to worry about. But no, we've got to talk about it, apparently. And that is exactly what the title and thumbnail are on about. The difference between RWBY's lie to Ironwood and Ozpin's lie to everybody. Let me just go ahead and tell you what the show tells you, so that you can already know what the difference is. The difference is exactly what Crow said. When RWBY is unsure if what she did is any different from what Oz did, Crow explains Ozpin hid the truth from everybody and only trusted himself. RWBY will trust people if they prove trustworthy. That's what gets said. Not in those exact words, but that's the general principle of what Crow was talking about. So right there, you already have the answer as to why they're different. Whether it was the right call or not, I don't think is my place to say. I don't know if I think it's right. I don't think that I have an opinion on whether it's right or wrong. But I also don't think that's the point. I think the point is that they made a decision regardless, which is more than you can say for Ironwood a lot of the time. Because ultimately Ironwood's paranoia keeps him from making decisions, whereas these guys, RWBY in particular, assessed the situation and made what she believed to be the best course of action at that point in time. That's the point. Anyway. I also don't know if I think Oz is right or not. Not my place to say. I don't have an opinion on it. Again, I don't know if that's the point or not. But, anyway, my main thing with this video is I'm tired of seeing people say that RWBY's a hypocrite. The show literally told you that she's not. Not in the sense of, oh, well, she's the main character, so you have to trust her. No. The show called it into question several times over both Atlas volumes. It was called into question, and RWBY had self-doubt about it as well. So it never was a situation of like, oh, well, it's the main character's decision, so they can't do any wrong. No. RWBY's a plenty flawed character. It's a matter of look at the context and it will give you the answer. And the answer is no. RWBY's lie is not the same as Ozpin's lies. They're not the same. The only overlap is that RWBY lied and Ozpin lied. That's your overlap. That's the only overlap you get between those two. Now let's talk about why they lied. Ozpin's reason is, do you really think that Leo was the first? People like Leonardo Lionheart, are the reason that Ozpin lies. Because he has been betrayed like he's been betrayed by Leo. Okay. So he's letting a few apples spoil the bunch, is basically what we have to go off of there. That's it. All we have to go off of is that he is letting a few people who have been untrustworthy make him not trust anybody. He has stopped fully trusting a single person because a few people happened to betray him in his past. I do think that it's right to be cautious. I don't think it's right to treat everyone with the same level of distrust if they haven't given you a reason to distrust them. Which is where it differs from Miss Rose. Because RWBY, I almost said Summer, wrong person. RWBY lied only because Ironwood himself was proving to not be the most trustworthy individual. He was paranoid. He was overreactive. we see the state that Mantle is in whenever they first arrive. It's in a state of disarray because the embargo, because he's putting all his resources into Amity to launch the communications tower, because the conditions in Mantle aren't just worsened by that, they're also worsened by the fact that he didn't update any security codes in Mantle. Atlas? Yes, because the rich are perfectly fine to protect, but your poor, lower class people in the city that actually do the work to make all that money, nah, you don't need to update their security codes at all. Nah. It's just... there were so many things that they saw the state of Mantle in, and even the way Ironwood was introduced. The man showed up with his entire army, basically, whenever Amity Coliseum was brought. And Ozpin even points it out. Ozpin points out that that's not usually a thing that happens. Usually, the headmaster doesn't come along. Normally, the army doesn't come along. And if our forces for protection are that big, what are we fighting against? The point is, Ironwood has constantly proven himself to be not the most trustworthy or mentally stable person in the room. And that's why RWBY lied. She lied to Ironwood because of Ironwood's actions. Ironwood did not prove himself to the group until later on, whenever they do decide to tell him. And by then we find out that he actually has a pretty reasonable response, which is just, please don't keep anything else from me. And then, of course, it all goes to hell after the fact. It all goes to hell after the fact because of Tyrion and Watts, because of Cinder. It all goes to hell. And his mindset reverts back to its insane paranoia, to metal. But that's all on Ironwood. That's all Ironwood. Specifically, it's Ironwood. It's not RWBY lied after calling out that Ozpin lied. It's not as simple as that. And that's why anyone that calls her a hypocrite is just, I'm gonna be honest, objectively wrong. If the only way you come to that conclusion, there are two ways. One, you weren't paying attention to anything beyond the fact that lies were there, or you're ignoring it. Those are the only two options. I'm sorry. Normally I'm like, well, we can have different interpretations, but this isn't a situation of different interpretations. I'm sorry, not sorry, but the context is different. All you have to do is pay attention to the context presented. That's it. Context for Oz's lies. He's been betrayed by people like Leo before. Okay, that gives him a justification to be cautious. It doesn't give him a justification to distrust literally everybody that isn't himself. RWBY specifically saw Ironwood's actions, and when Ironwood questioned, she lied to him because of Ironwood's actions and Ironwood not presenting himself as a trustworthy person. That's it. The contexts are different. The overlap is that they lie. It doesn't matter if you think she's a hypocrite for it, because she's not, because the context for her to be a hypocrite is simply not present. It's not. It's not. I could be going a whole lot more angry about this, but I don't want to put that kind of negativity into this video, especially not after the video I had regarding the fandom a few months ago. But I needed to talk about this at least because, wow, I have gotten annoyed by the amount of conversations I've seen about this where people talk about it, but they come off like they don't know what they're talking about because they say she's a hypocrite in a situation where if you pay this much amount of attention, you can tell that she's not a hypocrite. Now, we can argue all day long about whether it was right or wrong. We can argue about that all day long. Absolutely. You can make arguments for it, you can make arguments against it. Absolutely. But calling her a hypocrite is actually wrong, because she's not. And the show tells you that. The show tells you that, like, 2 episodes after it happens. The show outright said exactly what I said in fewer words. But I guess some people needed it spelled out. I don't know. Here we are. I'm having to talk about it. I don't want to have to talk about it, but here we are. Maybe next time I'll have a more proper discussion, a theory, something a bit more lighthearted, something a bit more friendly to talk about, more thought-provoking, instead of just me being a bit peeved that people are saying, hey, this character did this, and because I completely misunderstood the situation, that means this about that character. Because that's what happened. And it's still happening. This volume came out how long ago? This volume started over 2 years ago by this point. Volume 7 is when she lied. And people still have it wrong. She's not a hypocrite. She's not. Whether she was doing the right thing or not is debatable. And again, I don't think is the point. But we can debate that much all day long. That much actually is debatable. Not her being a hypocrite. That's just straight up wrong. Anyway, I think I'm good for now. Just an 11-minute. Having to elaborate why Crow's dialogue actually does prove that Ruby's not a hypocrite to people who still are thinking that incorrect statement that she is. I think I'm good. I'll see you later when I come up with something else to talk about at some point. Hopefully, I'll come up with something. But until next time, algorithm stuff, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.